Chiyuin, 6 golden habits that keep you young. After 50, discover the secrets to healthy aging and long life. What if I told you the real danger of aging isn't disease, it's disappearing from your own life? Not suddenly, but slowly. One forgotten appointment, one skipped walk, one night of poor sleep turning into months. It doesn't happen all at once. But one day, you wake up and the spark is gone. Chuyengi se seira niutoinoi, voi banreng moanangi, lun hatkwe tuage kong fai la, bentat mala, dan bienmat koi chin, kuak joy min, kong fai motkach jotengot, mala am tham, mot langquen lich hen, mot buoiji bobi bokwa, mot jem mat ngu bientan hiu tang, no kong jen ngai laptuch, nhung jen mot ngai, banthuk de van hanre an sang trong min javutat. But here's the truth. It doesn't have to be that way. There are 6 daily habits, simple, science-backed, and deeply human, that can bring you back. Back to energy, back to strength, back to yourself. And you don't need to be perfect. You just need to begin. So if you're over 50 and ready to stop fading and start living, this video is for you. 1. Reclaim your morning. The first 20 minutes that shape your day. Most people don't realize this, but the way your body and brain function in your 70s has a lot to do with how you spend the first few minutes after waking up. We often blame age for our fatigue, our foggy memory, our lack of motivation, but the truth is, much of that begins the moment we open our eyes and fall into the same draining habits. A recent study published in Frontiers in Psychology found that people over 60 who started their day with mindful movement or intentional stillness, such as stretching, walking, or journaling, reported 34% higher daily energy, more focus, and better emotional stability compared to those who rushed into screens or chores. This isn't a wellness trend, it's a reset button for your nervous system. The first 20 minutes of your morning is like wet cement. It sets the tone for your entire day. And as we age, our bodies become more sensitive to stress hormones like cortisol. A chaotic, screen-filled morning only fuels those chemicals. But when you begin your day gently with intention, you lower that stress response and set up your heart, your muscles, and your brain for balance. Take someone like Joe, 71, who used to scroll his phone before even getting out of bed. He felt sluggish and irritable by noon. After trying what he called a morning ritual, a 10-minute stretch, a glass of water, standing by the window breathing in the sun, he noticed a change in just 1 week. His blood pressure dropped. He smiled more. He even started walking again. Here's what's key. It doesn't have to be complicated. You don't need incense or silence or yoga pants. What you need is a rhythm, a signal to your aging body that it's still being cared for, still being listened to. Because when the body feels heard, it performs better, the brain thinks clearer, the day flows more smoothly, and most importantly, you start to feel like yourself again, not just a passenger in your own life. So ask yourself, what is the first message you send to your body each morning? Is it stress and stimulation, or is it presence and care? Reclaim your morning, and you reclaim the rest of your day. And as we move into the next habit, nourishment, you'll see why what comes after that peaceful morning is just as vital. Because after you wake your body gently, it's time to feed it with purpose. 2. Nourish to flourish. Eating for strength, not just survival. If your morning routine is the first message you send to your body, then breakfast and everything that follows is the second. But here's the thing, the food choices we make after 50 don't just affect our energy for the day. They shape how our body ages in the next 5, 10, even 20 years. In fact, a major study from the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health found that older adults who followed a whole food-based diet rich in vegetables, healthy fats, lean protein, and unprocessed grains had up to a 30% lower risk of heart disease and cognitive decline. That's not just about living longer, that's about living sharper, steadier, and more independently. And yet, many seniors fall into the habit of eating what's easy toast with jam, microwave meals, processed deli meats, soda instead of water. These choices aren't just nutritionally empty, they actively rob your body of strength. Over time, they contribute to inflammation, joint pain, mental fog, and even depression. Let me tell you about Linda, 69, who used to rely on frozen dinners and drive-through breakfasts. She wasn't overweight, but she felt constantly bloated, tired, and unmotivated. After working with a community nutritionist, she made one small change. She swapped her sugary cereal for oatmeal with berries and almond butter. Within weeks, she noticed fewer aches, a steadier mood, and more regular digestion. This is the power of nourishment. Not dieting, not restriction, but giving your aging body what it's been craving all along: real food. Dark leafy greens like kale and spinach provide vitamin K and calcium for stronger bones. Fatty fish like salmon and sardines feed your brain with omega-3s. Beans and legumes offer fiber that keeps your heart clean. And fruit, it's not sugar, it's fuel, paired with antioxidants your cells desperately need. But perhaps the most overlooked part of senior nutrition is hydration. After age 60, our thirst signal weakens even when we're dehydrated. That's why so many seniors suffer from fatigue, confusion, or even falls when really, the solution could be as simple as water. According to the National Council on Aging, mild dehydration is responsible for up to 40% of emergency hospital visits in adults over 65. Water isn't just a drink, it's circulation, it's temperature control, it's mental clarity. So what can you do? Today you don't need to throw out your fridge, but you can add life to your plate. Start with one meal a day, make it colorful, cook with real ingredients, drink a full glass of water before you eat, use herbs instead of extra salt, and ask yourself not, is this tasty, but is this helping me stay strong? Food is one of the few areas of health we control multiple times a day, and every bite is a vote for energy, for independence, for clarity. And when you start eating for vitality, something amazing happens. You move more, you think faster, you feel like yourself again. As we move into the next habit, walking, you'll see just how quickly a nourished body becomes a body in motion. Because when you feel right, the desire to move naturally follows. 3. Walk with intention. The movement that reclaims your power. Once your body is nourished with real food and hydrated with care, it naturally begins to ask for movement. Not strenuous workouts, not hours at the gym, just movement, gentle, rhythmic, grounding. And there is no better answer to that call than walking. Walking may sound too simple to matter, but don't underestimate it. A 2022 study in the Journal of the American Medical Association found that seniors who walked just 7,000 steps a day had a 50% lower risk of premature death than those who walked fewer than 3,000. That's not just a number. That's more holidays with your family, more mornings watching the sunrise, more days feeling like you again. When your body is well fed, walking becomes easier and more pleasurable. That stiffness you feel after sitting too long, it's not just age, it's a lack of daily circulation. Movement increases blood flow to your joints and muscles, lubricates cartilage, and strengthens the cardiovascular system. One step at a time, you're reversing damage that inactivity creates. I met Harold, 75, last fall. He told me he hadn't walked more than a block in years. Why bother? He asked. My knees hurt. I get winded, but after hearing his neighbor had started daily walks and lowered his blood pressure by 15 points, Harold gave it a try. Just 5 minutes the first week, then 10, then 20. 3 months later, Harold no longer used a cane. He called it my daily meeting with life. And that's exactly what walking becomes: a meeting with yourself. You don't need a destination. You need presence. The act of stepping outside, of moving forward, even slowly, tells your nervous system, I'm still here. I'm still in motion. And it's not just physical. Walking is medicine for your mind. According to a Stanford University study, walking boosts creative thinking by 60% and reduces symptoms of anxiety and depression by nearly 30%. The rhythm of your feet. the wind on your face, the quiet around you. It's like nature whispering, "You're not done yet." The beauty of walking is that it meets you exactly where you are. You can walk around your home, down the hallway, through the garden, with a neighbor, with your dog, or with a podcast that makes you smile. And here's something powerful: walking regularly improves balance and coordination, which are essential for preventing falls. The CDC reports that 1 in 4 Americans over 65 falls each year, and many of those falls lead to long hospital stays and lost independence. But walking helps your legs remember how to stabilize you. It builds confidence. So today, commit to walking not because someone told you to, but because your body's asking for it. Walking is not about burning calories. It's about reclaiming your power. And when done consistently, it becomes the bridge between nourishment and strength. And speaking of strength, our next habit is one many seniors avoid, often out of fear or misunderstanding. But it's time to rethink it, because building strength isn't about lifting heavy weights, it's about lifting your life. 4. Strength is a choice, rebuilding what aging tries to take. After you've begun to move through walking, your body becomes more aware. It begins to remember what it feels like to be capable. But here's something: walking alone cannot fully protect you from the slow, invisible loss of muscle that begins in your 40s and accelerates after 60. It's called sarcopenia, and it affects nearly 1 in 3 adults over 70. But here's the hopeful truth: it's not inevitable, and you can reverse it. Building strength isn't about lifting heavy weights or joining a gym. It's about preserving your independence. Every muscle in your body is a support system, helping you rise from a chair, steady yourself on stairs, carry groceries, or even reach into a high cupboard. Lose that, and life becomes smaller, riskier, more frustrating. According to the National Institute on Aging, adults who do strength training just twice a week can reduce their risk of falls by 33%, improve balance, and even reverse early signs of osteoporosis. And the best part, the exercises don't have to be intense. Gentle bodyweight squats, wall push-ups, light dumbbells, or even resistance bands are enough to spark regrowth in aging muscle fibers. Consider Elaine, 72, who hadn't exercised in over 2 decades. After breaking her wrist in a minor fall, her doctor warned her that muscle loss was putting her independence at risk. So she started a home routine: just 10 minutes every morning, squats near her bed, arm curls with soup cans, calf raises while brushing her teeth. Within 2 months, her posture improved. Her arms felt stronger. Most importantly, she felt less afraid of falling. That emotional shift is what makes strength training so powerful. When your body feels strong, your mind follows. You walk taller. You breathe deeper. You begin saying yes to things you once declined: visiting grandkids, attending events, taking walks in new places, because confidence is a kind of freedom. And no, it's never too late. Research from Tufts University showed that even adults in their 80s experience significant improvements in strength and mobility after just 10 weeks of resistance training. Your muscles may age, but they still respond, still grow, still serve you when you challenge them. So where should you start? Begin where you are. Try sitting and standing from a chair 10 times a day. Do wall push-ups during commercials. Lift 2 water bottles while listening to the radio. It's not about building a perfect body. It's about protecting the life you love. Because here's the consequence of ignoring muscle loss. It's not just weakness, it's isolation. Seniors who lose strength often become homebound, afraid to go out, embarrassed to ask for help. But every rep, every stretch, every movement is your way of saying, "I'm not giving up my life." And this brings us to the next habit, one that many forget, even though it's just as critical as food and movement: connection, because even the strongest body needs purpose. And nothing strengthens the heart like knowing you're not alone. 5. Stay connected. Stay alive, the medicine of meaningful relationships. You can eat the best foods, walk every morning, and grow stronger each week, but if you go through it all in isolation, something vital remains missing. Human connection isn't just emotional support, it's biological survival. And for older adults, especially those living alone or retired, loneliness can quietly become the most dangerous health risk of all. The numbers are sobering. According to the U.S. Surgeon General and research published in Nature Human Behavior, chronic loneliness can raise your risk of early death by nearly 30%. That's comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It weakens the immune system, increases inflammation, and accelerates cognitive decline. Simply put, your body knows when it's alone and it suffers because of it. This is why connection matters so deeply, not just for joy, but for protection. When you laugh with someone, your brain releases oxytocin, which lowers stress and supports heart health. When someone remembers your name, your identity feels reaffirmed. When you tell a story and someone listens, you don't just share memories, you keep your sense of self alive. Take George, 74, a widower from Oregon. After his wife passed away and his children moved out of state, he spent most days in silence. He was eating well, walking regularly, even doing light strength training, but he still felt flat disconnected. It wasn't until he joined a local community garden that things shifted. Surrounded by neighbors, digging soil, trading recipes, sharing old memories, George didn't just start smiling again. His blood pressure stabilized. He started sleeping better. Life began to feel like life again. And it doesn't take a crowd. Studies from the Mayo Clinic show that just one or two strong social ties can reduce the risk of depression in seniors by nearly 50%. That might be a friend you call once a week, a walking buddy, or someone you volunteer with at your library or place of worship. So why do we let ourselves drift apart as we age? Often it's because we tell ourselves, people are busy, or worse, no one wants to hear from me, but that voice is lying. Because connection is a basic human need, not a luxury, and reaching out isn't weakness. It's courage. Even brief moments of connection matter. A smile at the grocery store, a wave to a neighbor, a conversation with a grandchild about what they're learning in school. These moments trigger neurological patterns that strengthen the brain and lift the spirit. And here's something beautiful. Connection is reciprocal. When you reach out, they feel it too. You may never know how deeply your presence affects someone, but when you show up consistently, you become a lifeline for yourself and for them. As we prepare to explore our final habit, sleep, you'll see why connection isn't just social, it's physiological. Because when your heart feels safe and your mind feels heard, rest becomes deeper, healing becomes possible, and aging, instead of feeling like an unraveling, becomes a return to everything that still matters. Chapter 6. Sleep with Purpose. The nightly healing your body desperately needs. After fueling your body, moving it daily, strengthening its muscles, and reconnecting with others, you've laid the foundation for something deeply important: restorative sleep. Yet for millions of older adults, sleep is the first thing to be sacrificed and the last thing to be repaired. And that mistake is costing us our clarity, our energy, and even our longevity. According to the CDC, nearly 50% of adults over 65 report regular sleep problems. But what many don't realize is that poor sleep isn't just about feeling tired. It's tied to higher risks of memory loss, heart disease and depression, and even falls. During sleep, your brain clears out toxic proteins, your cells repair themselves, and your body resets its hormones. Without it, everything else you're doing, eating well, walking, staying connected, loses power. It's no coincidence that seniors who sleep fewer than 6 hours per night have a 33% higher risk of cognitive decline, according to a 2021 study from the University of Miami. But the good news is this sleep, like strength or connection, can be trained. In small, consistent choices can bring it back. Take Maria, 70, who used to wake up 3 or 4 times a night, frustrated and drained. She tried pills, but they left her groggy and forgetful. Then she made a change: no screens after 8 p.m., soft lighting, chamomile tea, and a regular bedtime even on weekends. After just 2 weeks, her sleep improved. But more than that, her mood lifted, her memory sharpened, and she stopped needing coffee just to make it through the morning. These changes don't require expensive devices or supplements. They require rhythm and respect. Create a ritual. Dim the lights after dinner. Stretch gently for 5 minutes. Listen to calm music or read a printed book. Your body needs signals, subtle cues that it's safe to let go. And don't forget your bedroom environment. Keep it cool, dark, and quiet. Remove blinking electronics. Use blackout curtains if needed. Studies from the National Sleep Foundation show that cooler bedrooms between 60 to 67 degrees support deeper, uninterrupted sleep cycles. Hydration also plays a role. Drinking too much right before bed may wake you up at night, but drinking too little during the day can lead to cramps and poor rest. Aim to hydrate evenly and avoid caffeine or large meals in the evening. More than anything, stop treating sleep like a luxury. It's a biological necessity. Think of it as your nightly maintenance session, the time when your brain stores memories. Your heart rate stabilizes, and your cells rebuild the very tissue that keeps you moving. When you begin sleeping with intention, not just crashing from exhaustion, but preparing for rest, you wake up more energized, more optimistic, and more in control of your day. And that's the thread that ties all 6 habits together. None of them stand alone. They are a circle of rhythm. Eating well gives you energy to walk. Walking helps you sleep. Sleeping clears your mind so you remember to connect. Connection lifts your mood so you feel motivated to move. And strength gives you the freedom to enjoy it all. Now, as we come to the end of this journey, it's time to ask one final question. Not how old am I, but how alive do I want to feel? If you've made it this far, it means something inside you still believes, still hopes, still knows that aging doesn't have to mean fading. Because every story we've shared, every habit we've explored, isn't about preventing the end. It's about reclaiming the middle, the messy, beautiful, powerful middle of your life that's still unfolding. The truth is, it's not age that makes us weak. It's the habits we stop doing. It's saying I'm too old instead of I'm just getting started. But now, you know differently. You know that real strength begins with a walk around the block. Real healing starts with a homemade meal. Real joy comes when you connect. Real recovery begins the moment you choose rest without guilt. These 6 habits aren't just advice, they're a roadmap back to your vitality, a path back to the version of you who feels strong, sharp, grounded, and deeply alive. You don't need to do them all at once. Just begin. Choose one. Choose you. So I'll leave you with this. What's the one habit you'll begin this week for yourself, for your body, for the life you still have to live? Share it in the comments. And if this video helped you feel a little more hopeful, a little more inspired, please consider subscribing and passing this message on, because someone you love might be waiting for a sign. 2, your story is not over, not even close. And this chapter, it can be your best one yet.